Welcome to Leather Connect. I am your host Kevin, and today we welcome Bryan, better known as Rowan Wych from Florida. How are you, Bryan?
Good. How are you doing, man?
I'm really good. I'm excited to have you on the podcast. It's I think you're my seventh interviewer, if I'm correct. So it's always nice. So you're from Florida, right?
Yep, I'm in Florida. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I saw that you've been a woodworker before. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do woodworking basically full time, and then the leather's more of. So it's wood and leather's in the same business, but it's mostly wood. Leather's just kind of was a hobby, became part of the business.
Oh wow! And you do like really big things like cabinets and or is it more like more?
Yeah, it's mostly all cabinets. So it's everything from islands, vanities, full kitchens, stuff like that.
Wow, that's really good. And why did you do the change to leather? Do you have a particular
leather? So when I used to be in insurance, selling insurance, and my wife owned a business, ran a business, and it was profitable enough that I could leave insurance and come home. Woodworking was my hobby, and I turned it into my business. Yeah. So I needed a new hobby, so I picked up leather as a hobby, and now that's part of the business. So unfortunately,
exactly.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, it just happens.
It's really good that you have like possibility to make two hobbies into your business. No, like you don't hear a lot of people who dare to take the risk to go from the hobby to the business, but you do it. So apparently it's successful. Huh?
Yeah, really it's at least paying the bills for now.
Yeah, for sure. And you only make smaller things, or do you like for the leather, or do you do like custom bags and stuff like that as well?
No, it's pretty much almost all minimalist wallets. It's really geared towards kind of the EDC community is kind of my audience. I do some commission work here and there for friends and family. That's a backpack, a purse, or something. But really for my clients or my audience, it's usually small wallets, and here and there some bigger wallets for long wallets for women and whatnot. But yeah.
And how long have you been doing it? The leather.
I've been doing leather for about, I guess, 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're pretty experienced already. Because I saw like on your website, I think you're already using sewing machines and the whole thing. So actually you're pretty.
Well, so yes, I started doing everything by hand, picked up a sewing machine, and quickly realized that that was no interest to me. So I've actually sold the sewing machine and moved back to all hand.
Okay. So it's actually it's a good thing because I hear a lot of people like having the eager to expand and to do like more sewing. But if you say like it's not really your thing, why do you think it's more like how you say you can put more your passion into it? I think if you do it by hand or
yeah. I think if once you introduce a machine, it's just another layer of removal from the actual product. And I also just didn't really enjoy leatherworking with a machine. It kind of took all the joy out of it. And because this is not my main business, but kind of like a hobby side business, I want to enjoy what I make.
Makes sense. Yeah. And which types of leather do you prefer? You have like interests?
I mean, I really prefer to use anything. I mean, anything veg tan. I don't have a real big preference, but shell, a little bit of exotics, but mostly just traditional veg tans.
How do you see the exotics? Because I don't have a lot of people with the experience with that on the show yet, and for me it's a little bit. I know it's probably more in America. It's more how you say like used, but like the alligator skins and all those things. It's very. Is it the same like veg tan or how does it work?
Oh no, it's a whole nother. Yeah, it's not even remotely close. So it has to be. There's a lot to it. You can burnish it, but it has to be edge painted. It has to be lined. It has to be cut to size. There's no manipulating it. You're not sanding it down or anything because of the edge work you have to do to it. So it's much more time consuming because you really have to plan ahead and really prepare the build before getting into it. Whereas veg tan, there's a little bit of room for error. You can always sand something down or whatnot.
And why doesn't it's allowed to sand? Is it like flaky, or what happens with the leather? Is it like, does it break
Well,
down?
it's more so that I mean, you can sand it, but because you're edge painting, it's hard to get a clean edge with that mushroom, you know? So once you start sanding it down, it just doesn't give as good of a profile to be able to apply your edge coat.
It doesn't burnish as well like the other ones.
Yeah, so it honestly doesn't burnish that bad. It's just kind of one of those industry standards where it's kind of frowned upon. So some of the EDC community actually has begun burnishing it, and I've made a few wallets burnished from Gator. It's just not really the traditional practice. So I'm cool with either. I think burnished looks cool. I think painted looks nice. But if you get into like the actual retailers of Gator and other exotics, that's not really, they're not gonna, they really want a folded edge is really obviously, you know, what's gonna look cleanest, but you know, it's not always possible.
Do you work with like fish leather as well? Because I've seen some things going past from other crafters like salmon skin and that stuff.
Yeah, like Fatty at Far Leather does a lot with salmon. I haven't gotten into anything salmon wise, other fish, frog. I haven't done anything except for lizard, so monitor lizard and gator, which are both pretty comparable as far as how you use them and how you work with them.
And is that easy accessible in USA? Or
oh yeah. American Tanning is in Louisiana, and they are huge distributors. So it's really accessible. I know there's, with the sites and the way, you know, international trade of animal products is kind of difficult in other places. Not in the US. US and Canada, it's very easy to get gator.
Oh, well, yeah, because I can imagine, let's say if I'm in Europe and if I want to import gator skin or something, I would have to pay like insane taxes or stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's why you see people like Peter Knits that have, you know, really high prices, just because the material is even that much more expensive for them to source.
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
But of course, there's skins coming from Japan as well, so it's not all American crocodilian. So there's an aspect there as well, but yeah.
And you mostly get your leathers from USA then, I guess, or Canada?
Would you dare to? Actually, I would say most of the leathers I use come from Italy, sourced through, you know, distributors over in Europe, or, you know, Eastern Europe and Central Europe seem to be putting out the most product.
Yeah, and do you pay like heavy import taxes in USA then, or not really?
No.
That's a luxury actually.
Yeah.
Because here in Mexico it's really insane. I'm really looking into like more local distributors here and local tanneries, because it's double the price or even triple the price to get products from Croatia or something. Sure. So it's
Yeah. You mentioned Croatia. I guess you're talking to Mario at Belts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I recently, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I ordered like, let's say 5 square pieces, and I think in total it was 80 euros or something, and I had to pay like, I guess 130 euros just to import it. So it's ridiculous, no? Like there's no way you can make any profit. And as well, since if you want to ship things out of Mexico, it's super expensive as well. So you almost lose money actually if you want to do something like that. But it's strange because I've met some people more up the north in Mexico, and they are using Italian leather as well. So maybe I suppose they charge more than for their products or something. They recalculate the prices or something. But yeah,
there's a few people in the collective that are in Mexico, so it's definitely worth trying to link up with those guys. And
I was going to talk about that as well, for sure. Like you started with the leather grinders, I think, before the collective.
Yes.
How was that, like the vision? What was the goal of that?
Well, so basically when I was first learning, obviously I was reaching out to anybody and everybody asking questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? As I started understanding how to do things, and my products went from looking very, elementary to a little more refined, I think people started then asking me those same questions. And I realized, well, I haven't stopped asking questions, and people are now asking me questions. And it's a huge, I don't mean it to sound a negative, but it's a huge time waster to be on Instagram answering and asking the same questions again and again.
The thing is, there's so many people who start, right? Especially with the COVID, there's so many new people who are trying, and it's overwhelming sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
So the goal of the grinders was really just to get some of the people I was commonly asking questions to, and people that were commonly asking me questions, into a group, so that we could kind of just share, bounce around ideas, work through things, and no one person felt like they were answering, 100 messages a day. And that grew. Obviously, it went really well. It was really helpful and valuable. So we opened a second chapter, opened a third chapter. By the time I got to the third chapter, you're at 100 people. It got a little busy, and so it needed to be more organized.
Yeah, and now with the Leather Collective, like, of course, I've seen you have 250 people already. How do you kind of manage that? Like, because it's like, it's only one person, I guess, to manage everybody, everything. Like, you're the only person that controls everything. So how do you do it?
Yeah. So it is actually my wife and I both work on that. So my wife's currently in the process of stepping away from her business, and she's going to start doing a lot more of the operations for Rowan Wych, as well as the Leathercraft collective. And so that's, obviously super helpful, but you're right. It's hard to manage. I mean, there's probably in a week, there's at least 1,000 messages in a week.
So for sure.
To keep up with. Obviously, it's something we're trying to do for the community. We're not making money on it. And so we do have to be, realistic about what we can and can't do. But at this point, it's been encouraging. People's expectations have been realistic, and their patience has been great. So
I see a lot of good feedback from it as well. Like, a lot of people are happy to have the community, and to have, it's difficult sometimes for sure if you begin to know where you need to start looking, or who do you need to contact, because there's so many.
And feeling confident that who you reach out to is going to be, receive you reaching out. Sometimes you hit people up and it's kind of like, I don't know if that person really wanted to talk to me. I don't know if that person really was interested. You can feel a little safer saying, well, if we're in the same leather grinder chapter, we're in the same collective, chances are I can reach out to you and feel like it's a safe, place to ask a question.
And how many chapters you have? Because
so right now we have 13. We put 2 more chapters in yesterday. And those chapters aren't full. But we like to start them off kind of half full, so that people can organically add to them.
That's their own people. And what do you see, like what is the goal? Like, of course, in the beginning, everybody gets to know each other and shares a little bit of information, but what is like the next step,
So the next step, I think, is adding more of the elements of learning, teaching, lists for suppliers, answering people's kind of questions in forms of videos and blogs, all the different things that our members kind of are doing. So you have this podcast similar to someone who's doing a blog or doing anything else. Instead of us trying to produce all of the content, it's basically curating the content to deliver to the group.
Yeah, that was actually another question. Like, are you planning to like really make videos and all that stuff? But in a way, you already answered it. It's a really good thing to, because in a big group, you may have good videographers, you may have good people who design, and that's a really good thing to combine it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of the least talented people here, so I'm trying to take advantage of everybody else's skills. It seems like my skill set is somewhat in the networking side of things. So if I can bring everybody else's better giftings together, then I think we all benefit.
Yeah, it's really good, because I think, let's say if I would start something like that, I'm not yet as well known, I guess. You're already 3 years in the business, and you have your contacts everywhere. So it's a good thing that you use your skills to do that, no?
Sure. And at the same time, I want to be able to give people that are coming in at a different time, right? You might not be at the same place, the same amount of years or whatever. I want to give those people a platform to really get started. It's hard to start a new podcast or blog and get traction. And so I'm hoping by just all of us being together, it allows for just faster, more efficient growth for everybody's, side hustles.
Yeah, no, definitely. I really think it's an amazing thing that you started, and you see a lot of good feedback from the people. I really believe that it's going to grow into something bigger, maybe even bigger than you can handle yourself. Who knows?
We are. So it's funny. You asked what the next step was, but the eventual goal, the reason for starting it, the actual motivation was we would like to do an international conference where people could come into one place, and basically we would have speakers, we would have breakout sessions. You'd be able to meet makers that you're friends with. You'd be able to see suppliers in person who could bring new products. That's really our goal. And my mother-in-law and my wife are both kind of seasoned in the event management kind of world. My mother-in-law's done Super Bowls, and my wife went to college for event planning. So it's kind of right in their alley to mix my networking skills and this leather love that I have with their giftings to hopefully be able to bring something really special in a few years.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Like I can imagine already. Like of course, there's not really, I think, like an expo or something already happening now. So if you could have this in a big venue, like it sounds to me like it's the good people behind it, and you with your family is really like dedicated, or you really know what you want to do or what you see in the future, and
yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah. And did you like with Rowanandwych, do you see it grow as well? Is it now you're going to slow down a little bit with your own project and focus more on the leathercraft community, or how you see that?
I think my goal is to keep my business kind of loyal to who's been loyal to my business. And so the customers and client base that I've been able to interact with over the last few years, I want to continue making for them. I really enjoy those relationships, but I do think as far as a growth standpoint, I don't know how much I'll grow Rowanandwych. I think I'll probably just kind of keep it where it's at. I'm still taking on new customers, but it's just not a priority to market there. I think my priority has shifted to kind of this community.
Yeah, to more networking. Yeah, makes sense. And your customers in general, where are they mostly situated then? Is it USA based mostly, or?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, most of my clients are in the States. It's
you mentioned the EDC, right? I see for myself, I love EDC as well, but since I'm in Belgium, of course not now, but I do see Europe is really behind when it comes to America in that way. Like there's nobody really still cares for the knives and all that stuff. It's USA is really a big play in that. So I guess it takes it makes sense in a way that you focus more on the EDC community in America in that way.
Yeah, it's definitely popular, and I think even more so, like you said recently with the COVID statement, kind of just people. The more people that move into leathercraft, the more that you see in your feed, the larger the EDC community becomes too. So whereas a couple of years ago, it might have been very small group of people that you were marketing to. Yeah. It's much more like a culture now, and a lot more people have adopted it, and it really isn't just a small handful of people like maybe it was before I got into leathercraft.
Yeah, exactly. I think if I'm correct, I think his name is Pirate Goods or something. He's up in Russia, I guess, and actually he's one of the only ones, if I may say, like that I see that really combines EDC and leather. Mostly you see the EDC community only focusing on like maybe the wallets, but mostly knives and coins and all that stuff. But nobody really started creating leather products for the EDC community, and he kind of tries to do that both. So you see the two cultures like really coming together.
Yeah,
and it's really good.
Yeah, I think the big thing about EDC and that whole group of individuals, and I think most of us could consider ourselves EDCers to some degree, right? We all carry the certain things, whatever it is. But that group of people really is so relationally minded. They really want to be invested in the products they're buying. And I think that's why it's so enjoyable for me to work with those individuals, is because I'm not just selling something and it's gone and I never hear from that person again. Almost every person that I've been able to sell a wallet to within the EDC community, after a couple exchanges, it's no longer a business transaction. It's friendship.
It's family.
Yeah. And so it's just so much more fulfilling than, again, trying to just make something, shipping it out and saying, well, I hope they liked it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely makes sense. The thing with me is I see in Europe, mostly the leather now is still more with the females in a way. The purses and the handbags and those things are more popular. The guys still need to, in a way, it's still the same. It's I guess it's slower in Europe. People they rather buy like the mass production and the faster things that you can just order online and today or tomorrow you have it. And in a way, it's a nice trend that you need to try to push it into the people's minds to say like try to buy responsible and look where you find your stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think something like this pandemic really gave people an opportunity to slow down and
Yeah,
consider, do I need something tomorrow? Do I need something the next day? Um,
exactly.
or would I rather, with all of the hardship going on, with so many people suffering, would I rather invest in an individual who's trying to, feed his family and pay his bills? And I
Yeah,
think that's been huge for our community over the last year, and why so many people have jumped in, just because I do think the market has grown for custom leather work. People are
yeah.
just willing to wait an extra week or 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's crazy how many people actually joined or started to do that business like in the pandemic. It's like I think Keith from Rowanandwych said it the other time, like when pandemic happens, like a lot of people, they were sitting at home, they didn't really know what to do. So of course you start looking at YouTube or something like that, and you discover something, and then maybe you think, hey, this rat race I was doing, maybe it's not really the thing that I should be doing, and yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, I'm really happy for that to happen, because it's made a lot of people realize like maybe I need to change something in my life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And even this is even if it's a step, just being more creative and giving yourself the opportunity to think about the position you're in and really be critical about the job you have and where you live and all of these things that we take for granted as having to stay the way they are. But yeah, this is given I'm excited to see how many people have stepped into art. I think at the end of the day, as a kid growing up, I was always coloring, drawing, building things. And I think that's why I'm a woodworker, and that's why I'm a leather crafter today.
Yeah,
Just that desire to be artistic as kids. I think at our core, we want to design and create.
yeah.
And there's just something really nice about a refined, long lasting item like a leather good.
True. It's in a way it may sound silly, but I always like kind of believe if you're a woodworker or metal worker or leather worker, doesn't matter. Like if you make something with your hands and you really spend time on it and trying to refine it, it's kind of, it creates a soul, you know, like it's not just a project that you throw somewhere, you know, it has value and you cherish it, and yeah, that is what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And do you see like, of course you said like your wife is joining with this leather crafting, but do you see it like really going, I don't know, like she's quitting everything and you're quitting your wood crafting and really like only focusing on the more community type of, how do you see that?
So as far as the dynamic of what I would do versus what my wife would do,
Yeah,
my wife will be much more on the administrative logistics side of things. So she's much more about getting people plugged into groups, making sure that, content that we're going to start accepting from people is put in the right places, that there's forms and file drops, and just all the ins and outs of making sure it's running. All of the communication, all of the the messaging and the networking is still going to be me. So
okay.
she's it would be hard for her to try to step in too much into the personal side of it, just because she's not a leather crafter, and she doesn't really have the relationships with the people in these groups that I've made over the last few years.
She's more the back office then in a way.
Yeah, and that's really her specialty too. And
Mhm.
it's all the things I'm not able to do, all the things that stress me out is what she's
She
awesome.
supports you in that. Yeah, that's actually really good. And
Yeah.
do you want to stay on Instagram in that platform, or do you see it like grow into different?
I think it could definitely grow out of Instagram. I think what I'm hesitant, or why I'm hesitant to grow out of Instagram, is because I think we're all too busy, and I think we're all already too much on our phones, right? We're already in Instagram all day,
Yeah,
whether it's for work or for fun or a mixture of both. I didn't want to add another app or
yeah,
another thing to have to log into. It's there's a degree of it that's nice because it separates you. So you're like, well, I'm going to go off Instagram and be in
yeah,
this set aside community. But I think the negative is either you'll spend even more time in your phone, or you'll abandon one or the other. You won't stay plugged into the collective, or you'll abandon your business. And I didn't
true.
want it to be a this or that. I wanted it to be as easy as possible. We're all already on Instagram. We can stay there. And there are some limitations, obviously. I can't include everybody in the same group. And it's
Yeah,
not really like a forum where I can have open dialogue. But we're going to try and be creative as possible. doing live things, recordings, and we may use some Discord apps or other options eventually to pair. But I think our main goal is to have the majority of the content and the majority of the interactions on Instagram.
Yeah, in a way it's good because I Instagram in general, it's already a really big platform, and because it's now Facebook took it over. In a way, you're possible to do like the lives, and you're possible to create communities, and in a way it's grown exponentially from what it was in the beginning, you know, and in a way it does help a lot, I think, to stay in what platform, because a lot of people, they say, yeah, it's important to be multi social, you know, YouTube and LinkedIn and I don't know what, but in a way as well, I noticed for myself that it's like you say, you lose the interest or the concentration in one point, and because you want to divide it to everything, and in a way then it doesn't happen anymore, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. Do you have any people that you say that inspired you? Maybe from starting the collective, or from starting the leather crafting, or big people you say, these people I go to have questions or something?
Sure. I think, I mean, I'm not going to put a list together of all the people, because
Yeah.
I'll leave people off, and I don't want to insult anyone, because I have asked probably 1,000 people questions. There's probably not too many people that I haven't come to for help in the beginning. I would say some of the best relationships that I've had were people like HFA Goods, Tyler, guys that kind of started at the same time as me, that we were able to grow together and ask questions together. I think some of those relationships are the most important to me. Of course, there's guys like Benjamin Ba and Claridge, and there's so many huge names that we all follow and we all know. And of course, that's where I started. But I don't think any relationships have been more important than the ones that I have inside the collective now in these leather groups. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually, it's like you say, you have so many people, especially I've seen a lot of crafters talking about people in Japan as well. Of course, it's more difficult to get in contact with them because it's a whole other culture, but they really as well have a really specific way of making things. And in a way, it's good because they make really high value products, but in a way they are only in their part of the world, you know, like you are calling names from mostly, I think, America, but those people as well, they stay in their community, and that's really, really good thing. So you have
that's one bridge that will be difficult. I would love, I mean, I think everyone in the collective would be very excited to have more Asians in the collective. But like you said, the culture barrier, and specifically more than that, the language barrier, you know, so I hope that happens. I don't know how that happens, and I don't know what I can do to help facilitate that. But at this point, obviously, being able to speak English, because it is the only language I speak, it is, that's kind of where we're stuck at right now.
Yeah, but it's good because I've seen you have, like, I don't remember how many countries there are in the collective, but I've seen Spain and Russia, and like you still have a lot of different cultures, and you know, all the people that are able to speak English, they can join, you know.
Yeah, and I think eventually, you know, depending where this goes in the next couple of weeks and months, if it does get decently large, I mean, it's already decently large. If it gets big, I think that we could even create some groups that are specific to countries that may not be able to speak English or whatever. That may be something that we can do. I don't need to be involved in each chapter. So if there's a chapter that doesn't speak English, as long as they can find value in it, and then I'm all for it. So
in a way, it's a snowball effect, you know, like once you start it sets off and it goes on its own, and you know, and with all these different apps, I think, like, you have translations apps as well, like in real time. So in a way, it will manage itself, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And do you have people that you say you would like to see on the podcast, like people or companies maybe, or I don't know, things that you say maybe this one would be interested for you to interview, well, for me to interview?
Do you follow Dayon, DS Leather Goods?
DS Leather Goods, yeah. I asked him. He was one of the first, as well as Rustic Reds Leather, but Rustic Reds was sick at that moment, and he's super busy now.
Sure.
He has leather goods as well. He told me Bobrikov asked him to get an interview for his thing as well, but he's super busy as well. So
here's my call up. Dayon, get on the podcast. It's your turn.
Exactly.
Or Alan, it's your turn.
Alan, exactly. Yeah, I've seen they're super busy now. Like it's there as well. Of course, like Alan, he's exploring. He's only doing it 1 year, but he's massive popular because he's one community grinder as well. He supports everybody. I don't know what he does, but in a way, I think he just buys stuff from everybody and kind of he reviews it and I see now as well he's starting to more get into the photography. So everybody's learning in a way. But I think in a way, DS Leather Goods, he's so big in a way, and I think he's so busy, and like I've seen as well, he's starting to do like now the crafting with Dan. So it's very hard, I think, to get those people for 1 hour maybe out of their time, but
Sure.
Definitely they will be a good value for sure.
Sure. I mean, there's so many, and obviously, even after this, let's definitely brainstorm a few of the good guys from guys and gals from the collective. I mean, we have 300 of them, so I think you'll have a long list of people to interview.
Yeah, actually, I think as well, like for the Leather Collective, it could be good for doing maybe podcasts or interviews or because you have the community, like it's not only me who has to do the podcast. Like I started it because I thought like it could be in one way, a good way to get more interaction with the people, but as well to know a little bit more maybe the secrets, like because shipping is different in every country. Everybody specializes more in their own field. It was really funny that I had like 3 people from Canada the last time, but it's that's what it's about and trying to share a little bit and see how it goes. No.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's great. And even having some questions that, are specific to regions or countries and knowing them ahead of time so people can come in kind of expecting like, let me explain for these. That way people that are in Mexico or people that are in Ireland or Russia or wherever else can say, okay, that's applicable to me, and they can kind of take note of it.
Yeah, because kind of I see myself like after this many interviews, I kind of I'm not struggling, but kind of I want to come up with new ideas or new questions or new things, because in the beginning you always have the same questions like what is shipping, what do you do, but in a way after 10 people, everybody will have their own thing and it's done. So.
And I think it's great to be organic and natural and let it flow, but it is nice also to have kind of something you can keep a log of and kind of have as a resource. So even just we can put a question up in the collective story as well and just kind of ask people what they want to see on the podcast. And so if you do that and tag us, I'll put it up there and we'll get some answers from people.
For sure, we'll sure do. Okay. I'm at my last question. Actually, I do it all the time, like the freedom of speech moment. If you want to say something, maybe make some advertising for the collective or something else. It's up to.
Yeah, I'd say the big thing that's on my mind right now with the collective and Leathercraft as a whole is just I want to make sure that we're all fighting for community, that we're all fighting for unity, and making sure that we're inclusive, that we care for one another, that this isn't a competition. I understand that we have to pay bills. I understand that for some people, this is a full-time job. And I don't think sharing and caring for people has to come at the expense of your business. I think we can make excellent products and excellent relationships and market ourselves and be very successful, but we can also care for the other people around us, our neighbors and our colleagues. So I would say the big push for me right now, even before the collective and even after the collective, is let's just be community focused. Let's make sure we're caring for one another and uplifting one another. None of us would be here without the person before us. And I think it's easy to get kind of prideful and built up about where we are and who we are after we have a few years of experience. But at the end of the day, that's just not what it's about. We all have to live in community, whether you like it or not. So let's try and do it in a way where we're all benefiting.
Yeah, that's a great statement. It's true. Like Instagram is it's all about community. That there's nothing else. So in a way, really good statement.
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
Bryan. I thank you a lot for the time spent and on the podcast, and I wish you the best with the Leather Collective. I'm sure it will grow massively, and I look forward to maybe meeting you in person, meeting all the people in person, and who knows where the time will bring us.
Absolutely. I look forward to that as well.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.